వెలుగు తెచ్చారు, దళితవాడ నల్ల గొప్ప వెలుగు తెచ్చారు.
మన చంద్రన్న పాలనలో ఎస్సీ సంక్షేమానికి 40,250 కోట్ల రూపాయలను కేటాయించడమైంది. ఇప్పటి వరకు 1,411 కోట్ల రూపాయలతో ఎస్సీ కాలనీల్లో 5,746 కిలోమీటర్ల సిమెంటు రోడ్లు వేశారు. ప్రజా రాజధాని అమరావతిలో 200 కోట్ల రూపాయలతో అంబేద్కర్ స్మృతివనం, 125 అడుగుల అంబేద్కర్ విగ్రహం ఏర్పాటు చేస్తున్నారు. ఇది ఎస్సీల ఆత్మవిశ్వాసానికి నిలువెత్తు ప్రతీక. ఎస్సీ యువతకు మెరుగైన జీవనోపాధిని కల్పిస్తూ ఇన్నోవా, జేసీబీ వంటి వాహనాలను ఇస్తున్నారు. 17,48,977 ఎస్సీ విద్యార్థులకు ప్రీ మరియు పోస్ట్ మెట్రిక్ స్కాలర్షిప్లను ఇచ్చి వారిని విద్యాధికులను చేస్తోంది మన చంద్రన్న ప్రభుత్వం. గుంటూరులో 40 కోట్లతో క్రిస్టియన్ భవనం నిర్మిస్తూ వెలకట్టలేని కానుకను అందిస్తోంది మన చంద్రన్న ప్రభుత్వం.
Sun International Institute for Tourism and Management, Visakhapatnam and Hyderabad offers Bachelor in Hotel Management, Bachelor of Business Administration, Bachelor in Travel and Tourism, BSc in Home Science, BSc Food and Nutrition, Masters in Hotel Management and Tourism. For admissions, please contact 8886314747.
రాజశ్రీ బ్రహ్మర్షి దైవజ్ఞ డాక్టర్ కోనాల అచ్చిరెడ్డి గారి మార్గదర్శకత్వంలో నడపబడుతున్న ఉత్తమ విద్యా సంస్థ శ్రీ విద్యాంజలి.
విజయవాడ సిటీలోనే సంస్కారవంతమైన స్కూల్ శ్రీ విద్యాంజలి.
25 సంవత్సరాలుగా విద్యావతల్లి సేవలో వినయశీలి విద్యావంతుడు పుప్పాల శ్రీనివాసరావు గారి పర్యవేక్షణలో
పటిష్టమైన ప్రణాళికాబద్ధంగా నిరంతరం శ్రమించడంలో నంబర్ 1.
సాధారణ విద్యార్థులతో సైతం అసాధారణ ఫలితాలు సాధించడంలో నంబర్ 1 శ్రీ విద్యాంజలి.
అడ్మిషన్లు జరుగుతున్నవి. శ్రీ విద్యాంజలి ఇంగ్లీష్ మీడియం స్కూల్, నైజాం గేట్ సెంటర్, వించుపేట, విజయవాడ.
Herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauer, liebe Zuschauerinnen.
Welcome, dear viewers, dear listeners. We're very glad that you tuned in for the 20th program of the series, The Great Cosmic Teachings of Jesus of Nazareth to His Apostles and Disciples Who Could Understand Them. What we present in this program goes far beyond what is known in the traditional writings about the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth. Through the prophetic word of the present time, we learn what other deep divine teachings Jesus conveyed to his followers 2,000 years ago. Gabriella, the prophetess and emissary of God, interprets for us the heavenly language of the Christ of God into our human words. Through her, Christ, the free Spirit, reveals his teachings of the all-encompassing unity of life, which allows us to learn that we, every single one of us, are not merely human beings, but in our origin we are cosmic, yes, heavenly beings. These heavenly teachings of the Christ of God can be applied at any age and for every situation in life. Building on the axioms of the Christ of God, Gabriele, who is in the studio with us today, gives in addition many practical tips and explanations for all of us from her rich treasure of experiences. There are tasks that further help us in life, and that is why we want to share them with you. We read from the second volume of the 5-volume work of the great cosmic teachings of Jesus of Nazareth with explanations by Gabriele. If you like, you are warmly invited to immerse in the teachings of the Christ of God together with us.
We read in the great cosmic teachings of Jesus of Nazareth to his apostles and disciples who could understand them. Christ speaks. Recognize that the one who heeds the many aspects which lead to freedom brings peace to himself and also to his neighbor. For this reason, never influence the consciousness radiation of your neighbor by thinking that you have to put order in his home, in his room, according to your consciousness. Remember the following spiritual principle. Leave to your neighbor his kingdom. That means do not change his consciousness radiation. The consciousness radiation of you and of your neighbor also affects the rooms that you or your neighbor live in. Leave to your neighbor his small kingdom, for this is how he wants to feel at home. If you heed this spiritual principle, then he will be glad when you visit him. Enter his room only when you are welcome, and leave everything in the room the way your neighbor has arranged it, for that is the perspective of his consciousness.
Christus spricht weiter.
Christ continues. If you sit on a chair or take an object, put the chair back as it was and put the object back in its place, just as it was before. Do not change anything, even if you would like it better otherwise, and if you think that it would be more beautiful as you see it. With this, you influence the consciousness radiation of your neighbor, and with your seeming order, you bring disorder into his life, into his consciousness radiation. For as your neighbor sees it, this is how it is good for him at present. He does not want it changed by you, unless he asks you to. The one who heeds this spiritual principle respects his neighbor, and himself too. Even in the smallest things, the following spiritual principle applies. Do to others as you would have them do to you.
Dear fellow people, we now hear Gabriela's explanations of this. Everything is radiation. How we furnish our little kingdom, our realm, the arrangement of the objects corresponds to our consciousness. An object radiates to us according to how we place and arrange it. This is equal to our consciousness radiation, from which results the communication with the object. For our present state of consciousness, this is the radiation of harmony and peace. When we like certain objects very much, then we put them in a certain place in our room. When we enter this room, our eye may fall on this object that is placed so that it pleases us. It radiates to us, and a possibly depressive mood becomes lighter. Friendly and joyful vibrations affect us and embrace us. And so, in our little kingdom, we can build ourselves up again and unfold positive powers.
Gabriele continues explaining. We thus set up our little kingdom according to our state of consciousness. We have chosen the colors and forms in our room according to our consciousness radiation. This is how they radiate to us and please us. Our neighbor, in turn, furnishes his room, his little kingdom, differently. He decides for other colors and forms than we do, all according to his consciousness radiation. When we rearrange the order in our neighbor's room, we bring in our consciousness radiation, which, however, is not in accordance with his consciousness. And so we interfere in our neighbor's sphere with our human ideas. This results in disharmony.
We continue reading Gabriella's explanations. When we speak of our little kingdom, which should be harmoniously and beautifully furnished according to our consciousness, this has nothing to do with external wealth, with splendor and magnificence, with prestige and the like. Each of us has a home, and in our home, a room or at least a corner that belongs to him, which has his vibration and which conveys to him the feeling of being at home. This place, whether large or small, is what we call our little kingdom. According to the law of God, every one of us should dwell and live as it corresponds to his consciousness. Everything that opposes this state of consciousness also opposes the peace. And everything that is far beyond this, for instance, great wealth, splendor, and the like, is unlawful. Through this, we cannot become children of God, but instead want to be gods.
Dear fellow people, we should also respect the inner sphere of life, the inner temple of our neighbor. For us, this means to be silent and alert. Take your neighbor into yourself, and then you will know when you can address him and what you can say to him, because then, in your consciousness, you grasp where he is at that moment. Many people have the habit of thoughtlessly and abruptly addressing their neighbor when they meet him.
Und unvermittelt anzusprechen. Sie reden alles heraus.
They say everything that is on their mind without asking whether their neighbor wants to hear it. Do we know where our neighbor is with his awareness at that moment? It could be that he is in an inner prayer, in deep conversation with God, in his inner temple. When we suddenly address him, then we disturb him and pull him out of his inner being. The alert person who really wants to visit his neighbor in his inner being first consciously accepts his neighbor and takes him into his own inner being. He feels him in himself, in his inner being, and weighs the situation. Can I now say something to him? He then knows when and how he can address his neighbor and what he can say to him.
Christ says in his great cosmic teachings, never be curious. Do not look behind, to the right and to the left, out of curiosity. To see and to hear, for you are responsible for what you see and hear. What you see or hear stimulates you to think, and you are responsible for every thought. What you see and hear stimulates you to speak and to act, and for this too you are responsible. The pure one will not look around curiously. He will not produce thoughts. He will not look for words or think about how, what, and when he should do and act. The pure one has everything in himself and is in all things because he is the truth, which in turn is in all things.
If you behold your neighbor, then you behold the all, and you behold the eternal Father in you, and you behold your neighbor in you. For you are the image of the eternal, one holy Father, because you are divine in him, his created children, whom he beholds in himself, through himself, and in the all. When you have beheld your neighbor in you, then you have beheld your eternal Father, for the eternal and his pure child are one. Since you know and behold your neighbor as a part of you, then you also know the eternal one, the Holy One, because you are his image, the eternal law, which you know because you are it, since you are divine. The pure one is the eye of the holy temple. The one who beholds sees through everyone and everything.
In his axiom, Christ spoke about curiosity. Gabrielle explains about this. Through our curiosity, we distract ourselves from the energy of our day, from what the day wants to tell us. Then we do not live in the present and do not pay attention to the impulses that want to call our attention to what we should clear up here and today. Instead, we see and experience things that could call up much in us that we are not ready for, that we cannot yet master, and therefore not overcome either. We see and hear a lot that we may not be able to come to terms with, because it does not belong to the energy of our day. But we think about it. We have ideas. Emotions surge. We might value judge and reject our neighbor. Since every sensation, every feeling, every thought, every word, and every deed is energy, we also burden ourselves with it, because wherever we send to, from there we receive.
Our thoughts, which we send to our neighbor, can also set some things into motion in him and awaken or intensify a negative potential at the wrong time. It is possible that in this way a cause bears its effect too soon in him, a burden in the soul breaks out too soon, so that he is hardly able to deal with it and clear it up. And so he may have much to bear because of this complex and may possibly develop more guilt. We are now bound to this person, to this soul, to whom we have emitted because of our curious thoughts or sensations. We will have to meet him again someday in order to clear up what needs to be cleared up and make amends for it, for we will reap what we sow.
We continue reading. Curiosity not only prevents a conscious life in the present, but is already the result of externalization. When we lack energy in our soul because we are not true to ourselves, because we do not use the energy of the day, then curiosity awakens. We are then constantly concerned with finding out and hearing about everything. Why? Because we don't know ourselves. The one who finds himself daily in his thoughts and clears these up daily attains spiritual energy, divine light power. His consciousness radiation increases. He can be true to himself because he has found himself and will no longer be eager to listen to things or to spy things out, believing that he will miss something, thinking that he has to achieve and experience something. We cannot chase after, spy out, or eavesdrop on the peace, the stillness, and the fulfillment for our soul. We do not find ourselves in the external world, and so do not find God either.
Liebe Mitmenschen,
Dear fellow people, Jesus of Nazareth spoke to his apostles and disciples in the following sense: the Father and I are one. If you have seen me, you have seen the Father. His words mean the following: when you have fathomed me in the depths of your soul, then you have perceived my radiation and have recognized and sensed the radiation of the Father. The eternal Father was not personified in Jesus, but the Christ in Jesus was the image of the Father, his Son. And as pure beings, we are sons and daughters of God, and the image of the eternal Father. When we have found ourselves in our neighbor, when we have truly recognized and beheld him in ourselves, then we have sensed the radiation of the eternal Holy Father, because the pure soul is one with the eternal Father. Then we understand the words of Jesus in their depth. The Father and I are one. When you have beheld me, then you have beheld the Father. Then you have also perceived his radiation and sensed me as a pure being, as the image of the eternal Father.
Gabriele continues and repeats the words of Christ in his great cosmic teachings. When you have beheld your neighbor in you, then you have beheld your eternal Father, for the eternal and his pure child are one. Since you know and behold your neighbor as a part of you, in you, then you also know the Eternal One, the Holy One, because you are his image, the eternal law, which you know because you are it, since you are divine. Gabriele explains regarding this. When we know the eternal law, then we also live the eternal law, and live in the eternal law. Then the soul is divine, and united with the one who is eternal, God, our eternal Father. Then we are consciously in him, and are eternally united with him in all eternity. For he, the great All-One, beheld us. He created us, and so he beholds us in himself.
Gabriele continues explaining. This is why we also find our way back to him as pure beings, because he has never let and does not let us out of his heart. He beholds us as perfect beings. That is the great all-magnet, which radiates into the astral planes and to us on this earth. This all-magnet, the love of God, radiates to human beings and souls and attracts us again. God, our Father, does not release us from His love and care, may we, the human being, resist ever so much. He gives us the freedom to live as we want. But at some point, our soul and our person, too, will awaken. Then we will feel the great, mighty all-magnet, the unending love that attracts us more and more. Through Christ, our Redeemer, we will find our way back to Him, back to His eternal Father heart, from where we went forth.
Liebe Mitmenschen,
dear fellow people, Gabriela encourages us with the following words. Let us allow this awareness to unfold in us, so that it totally envelops and lifts us up. The great love magnet, God, the all-magnet, our Father, emits through all soul realms and also to the human beings, to this earth. This great all-magnet of love calls and guides us through Christ, our brother and Redeemer. And through Christ, we find our way again to Him, into His heart, into the eternal homeland, where peace and happiness are, the eternal being. But we are told the following: first open the kingdom of God in you, and through the inner kingdom, through the kingdom of God in you, you will find your way again into the eternal kingdom, into the eternal homeland. For the inner kingdom is the law of love in us. When we have opened it, then we are in God and are also united in Him and with Him. Dear viewers, dear listeners, these words give us hope and courage. Let us take them into our hearts, so that God's love, His all-magnet, draws us to Him, so that we may return to our true origin, to His eternal Father heart. Whoever wants to continue on this path is warmly invited to tune in again for the next program of this series. Then we will learn how we can find the way to inner stillness more and more. What we heard today you can read in the second volume of the great cosmic teachings of Jesus of Nazareth to His apostles and disciples, who could understand them, with explanations by Gabriela. For today, we wish you all the best. Until next time, a warm greetings in God, and goodbye.
Excessive meat consumption is a severe problem. It causes obesity and illnesses in people. It causes unspeakable torments to the animals in factory farming and an agonizing death in the slaughterhouse. It leaves behind clear-cut rainforests, contaminated soil and water, and a planet Earth that is being driven directly into the climate disaster. Who brought this upon us? Anyone who takes a good look will find the profession that already centuries ago laid the cornerstone for the brutal disregard for life and upholds this tradition until today. Did you know that those who did not participate in this are still, as before, threatened with eternal damnation? Read Vegetarians, Godless Heretics? What vegetarians and meat-eaters alike should know. A book with the dedication, for the animals are fellow creatures from the hands of God. The author has researched a fullness of correlations and facts hardly known until now. He appeals to the reader, don't look away. Look at what's being done to the animals, billionfold. Eat no meat. Do not eat the suffering of the animals. Eating meat is against the law of life.
Herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauerinnen und Zuschauer, und Gott zum Gruß.
Dear viewers, dear listeners, a very warm welcome and greetings in God. Today we want to deal with a topic that concerns everyone, namely our life. Gabriele, the prophetess and messenger of God for our time, whom we greet very warmly here in the studio with us, gave us a concept and practical help for life on this topic, which we want to present to you today. The tenet for getting to know yourself and your personal life and for applying it in a productive way is, whatever you do, give it your all. Use the moment. But have we ever thought about to what extent we actually know and make use of our life on earth? And whether during the moments of our life we are with ourselves? We want to repeat this question because it is important. Are we, each one of us, with ourselves during the countless moments of the day, during the seconds, minutes and hours? It's worth thinking about this, as we'll soon hear. Let's think about ourselves for a few moments.
Science has taught mankind that everything is energy and that no energy is lost. Among other things, science has also found out that thoughts, too, are energy that can be made visible. What science tells us has been brought home to us by the Spirit of God from His eternal law, the universal life, over and over again through His speaking instruments, whom He calls prophets and prophetesses. For over 35 years, the Spirit of the Christ of God has been teaching what life means in all details through His speaking instrument. The universal Spirit of the Christ of God taught and teaches us that even sensations and feelings are energies, and that they imprint a person. And so, a person is marked, imprinted, with what he senses, feels, thinks, speaks, and does. When we refer to the values of our sensing, feeling, thinking, speaking, and acting, we mean the content, that is, what the individual places into his behavior patterns, what lies behind the way he acts.
We wouldn't need any instruments, for instance, to make the energies of our thoughts become visible, for we, ourselves, each of us, are the instruments. Each person is a body of sound that consists of the content of his behavior patterns. We, that is, each and every one of us, can be compared to a computer that stores the content of what he senses, feels, thinks, and does. That is, his behavior patterns. What he stores, he sends out in turn. And what a person sends out comes back to him. The input and the output The entries and the outputs of the computer man then result in the imprinting of his body. The imprinting of our body is our instrumental body of sound. But where are our thoughts while doing this? Where are we actually during conversations? Are we with ourselves, each one with him or herself? Or are we in reality totally somewhere else?
Many of you or listener may be thinking, what odd questions? I know where I am and who I am. Do we really know it? Where are we really? We all know the principle of sending and receiving. Each person is thus a sender and receiver. We send out what we really think, the content of our thoughts and words. If we believe in the principle of sending and receiving, the question, where are we, is justified. And so to where do we send our thoughts? To where do we send what is concealed in our words, in our conversations? Whatever we do, let us ask ourselves, are we really with what we are doing at the moment? Let us realize that we are where the content of our thoughts and words is. Also during conversations, the content of our words goes to those places, people, and situations that we are sending to. This means that our physical energies dissipate. We lose energy. We may very well be here with our body. It is present. But in reality, our awareness is totally elsewhere. In terms of our awareness, we are where we are thinking toward, for instance, to people, to situations, leisure time, sports, vacation, etc. That's where our energies go. That's where we are.
Zum Beispiel haben wir Stress oder sind hektisch.
For example, we are stressed or hectic.
Gedanken und Worte, die wir dabei
What is the content of our thoughts and words that we thereby emit? Where is our consciousness? That's where we are even when our body, as we say, is here, that is, present. Or we get annoyed by our neighbor or our colleague at work, our boyfriend or girlfriend. What are we thinking? That is where our awareness is. That is where we are. In terms of awareness, we are always where our sensations, feelings, and thoughts are. We can say that we are indeed physically present here, but in reality, we are far from ourselves with the content of our sensations, feelings, and words, that is, at a distance. Let us ask ourselves, where are we when we carry out our daily workload, our work? Where are we when we do office work? Where are we when we participate in conversations concerning work? Where are we when we do the housework that needs to be done every day? Where are we when we are underway with our children? There are many variations of absent-mindedness and flights of thoughts. For example, with the content of his sensations, feelings, and thoughts, where is a sick person? Perhaps with his illness, with his physician, his medications, with the treatments that have been prescribed? Is he meanwhile with himself? The sound body, the person who is here and there with his thoughts, yes, with his whole behavior, that is, and is seldom with himself, calls this his life.
Das Menschenleben,
the human life, can be described as traditional patterns of routine that include stress, quarreling, envy, arrogance, hostility, leisure time, recuperation, and perhaps meditation. In short, the daily grind.
Es ist, kurz gesagt, der Alltagstrott.
These many self-inflicted dissonances are then called, among other things, coping with the daily workload, the so-called life of many people.
Most people are not aware that by constantly being abstracted in their way of thinking, speaking, and acting, that is, in their whole behavior, they unnecessarily lose, that is, waste a lot, really a lot of physical energy. Many people, if not to say most people, are not with themselves, but are on the move with their thoughts. They are at that place toward which they are thinking at that moment. There, they unload a part of their physical energy. In this way, the body becomes ever weaker, and the consequences of this are erratic work, wrong decisions at work that cause unfortunate situations, which can perhaps result in further misfortune, such as a loss of their job, or indisposition, even illness. We have to learn to change our way of thinking and move towards finding ourselves. That is, we need to find ourselves, to be with ourselves, in order to give our personal life the decisive fulfillment of purpose. We should learn to have a self-fulfilled life, which is creative. We should learn to reach ourselves so that we attain vitality, but not by trying to meditate every morning, to then plunge into the floods of the day. We have to learn to take our life on earth in hand. That is, to find ourselves in our life in order to give it value by attaining self-awareness. Let us practice in order to give our days the values that correspond to our inner substance. A true life's gain means to make use of the day, to be totally with ourselves, with our sensations, feelings, with our thoughts and words. And so, life's gain means, whatever you do, give it your all. Use the moment. Whatever I do, I am with it with all my strength. I draw from what I recognize and find that is good. What I see, from this I broaden my horizon and learn new things. Let us practice being completely with ourselves. Being with ourselves in order to learn from the situations, from the moments. This is being inventive. This is creativity. This is life's gain. Let us also learn by observing ourselves, by questioning ourselves, our thinking and behavior. Let us shape our life according to the good, that is, true recognitions, which we gain from the 10 Commandments of God and the teachings of Jesus of Nazareth.
May it be repeated once more, so that this essential spiritual principle, this simple sentence, imprints itself deep within us. What I, the person, now do, I am with it. If I am working in the field, then with my thoughts I am with my field work. I am here, that is, present, with me. I am with my work. I am at my desk, when I am selling something, when I am shopping. I am with me. I am here. I am present. Whatever I do, my thoughts are with me, with what I am doing. I am here. I experience the moment, and what is in it comes alive. I go for a walk. I am here because my thoughts, my feelings, my whole behavior is with me. In doing so, I experience myself and nature because I am with me. I am here. During my time off and in sports, my thoughts are with my physical training. I am here. I experience myself. I feel myself because I am present. I am here. I make use of the moment, which can say many things to me. When reading a letter, a book, a newspaper, I am with it. My thoughts are present. I am here. I learn to draw from the awareness of the letter, the book, the newspaper, because creativity is called for. The attentiveness and watchfulness toward ourselves, that we are present, that our thoughts, our whole behavior is with us, brings about a deep, balanced breathing. Again, we address ourselves with I. I breathe more freely, because I breathe more deeply. I breathe aware that deep breathing is life. My formerly hectic movements become harmonized because I am with myself. I am here. I forget less and less often. I misplace and lose objects ever more rarely, for I am present. I am with myself. I can think more creatively, feel and sense more deeply. I am present. I am with myself. I am here, with my life. I live the moment. I live the situation. I am here. If we want to adjust to such a conscious and meaningful attitude, then the motto is practice. It is a learning process. We practice in order to learn.
And so we have to learn so that we reach ourselves again to gain our self, which is our personal life. In the process, our brain frees itself from all the useless trumpery, from superfluous splinters of thought that we have sent out. Our brain cleanses itself of impurities that we attracted with shortness of breath and unnecessary scattering of bad feelings, thoughts, and words. Deep breathing is relaxation. From relaxation grows fulfillment, and from fulfillment, creativity. Our consciousness, which, starting with our brain, shapes our entire behavior, affects the function of our nervous system and all the processes in our body. Through self-fulfillment, we become calmer, more sure of ourselves. We learn more and more to weigh and measure justly. We learn to question what touches us, such as quarrels, disagreements, stress, envy, and animosity, but also our personal behavior, such as overly exuberant joy, uncontrolled eating and drinking, and much more. A fulfilled life means to build up our life energies, to bring our mental and physical aspects into harmony. The more quickly we recognize what is essential, the more promptly we measure and weigh negativity in order to bring it into order, the more quickly we will receive positive energies.
Our physical energies build up more and more because we are with ourselves. From ourselves, from our thinking, speaking, and doing, we receive answers to situations, conversations, letters, and books, to everything that touches us. In this awareness of make use of the moment, our body straightens up more and more. Our movements become more harmonious. Yes, our life truly is in our hands. In each moment, in each second and minute, day by day.
In diesem Sinn erhält auch
In this sense, the word meditation also gains a new meaning. And so, meditation does not mean to sit down to meditate and then to go into the stress of everyday life. Meditation means to be attentive, watchful over ourselves, each day, each moment, that is, in every situation.
Also in jeder Situation. Meditation heißt,
meditation means that whatever we do, we give it our all, each moment.
auf den Einzelnen,
In terms of the individual, this means whatever you do, give it your all.
sei bei
Be with yourself, with your thoughts, with your words. Be with your work.
was du
Thus,
tust,
whatever you do, carry out everything in the awareness that your life is with you.
sei also da,
And so, be here, be present.
dann erschließt
Then higher ethical moral values will develop so that we may understand our fellow man better and more profoundly.
ethisch-moralisch
Ethical moral values are also expressed in the way we sit at the table, for instance, so that we speak and dine in a thoughtful and balanced way.
Dabei sollte
In this, our concern should be that our thoughts are with the intake of our food.
wir essen
We eat calmly and concentrated.
unsere
Our
Gedanken,
thoughts are with what we drink.
wir trinken,
We drink.
wir sind
We are present.
so
Just as our breath is more calm and deep, so do we eat, calmly, consciously, circumspectly, that is, concentrated.
wir kauen gut,
We chew well.
wir trinken
We drink
schluckweise.
in sips.
Wir sind
We are here,
also
that is,
gegenwärtig.
present.
Schweifen
If we digress, then we pull ourselves back at once.
wir merken
We
uns
take
im
note of the reason for this and are again with ourselves and in ourselves.
wir bejahen
We affirm our life and feel into our earthly existence by thinking about further things. For example,
weiteres Gedanken.
my earthly existence has become my life.
Dasein ist zu meinem Leben geworden. Mein
My life is fulfillment of meaning and
Leben
purpose.
ist kreativ.
My life is creative.
Ich lebe,
I live in me.
ich
I live for my fellow man.
ich
I
lebe
live for the planet Earth. For to be creatively active,
zu sein.
that is, to be creative, means to gain the life more and more.
Leben zu gewinnen.
Let us refer back to meditation again, because we frequently hear that people meditate to reduce their daily stress. Meditation brings calmness and alignment. Meditation helps gain a certain distance from daily stress, from bad situations and events in the day. One can see it that way, but the question is, for how long do the effects of such a meditation last? Often, meditation becomes a forced meditation, to withdraw with all the good forces that have been input to attain tranquility and relaxation. But the true gain is in whatever you do, Give it your all. Live the moment. Fulfillment of life out of this grows. Being attentive in life means to gain in creativity. There are no age limits to learning, to practicing, in order to gain the life. This is a holistic gain in life. To gain in life means to live more calmly, more prudently, more alertly, and more creatively. In doing this, we are aware and purposeful in the moment, in the situation, and fulfill our workload in the preset time. Among other things, a gain in life means to gain insight into life. This results in foresight. Foresight, used creatively, helps to bring out unity and peace. And so, to live means gain the life in that you are, and change yourself out of your present situation to a positive, universal person who develops the creative presence. An advanced gain in life means that in time you gain insight into the situations of the day, insight into conversations that can be understood in their depth, in order to draw from them more information. Insight into a fellow man's words brings insight into the good that I want to develop, for it is the universal life. A tenet for us: God is good. Universal is divine. And so, if we gain the innermost power in our soul, then we are strengthened, aligned people who do not need to flee into a meditative straitjacket in order to become calm. The one who learns wins so much. Our tenet: gain the life. To gain life means to gain a harmonious, balanced, peaceable, happy life. In order to gain this, the motto is practice and practice, because only by learning and practicing will we attain universal creativity, which is a higher ethics and morals. We learn and practice and experience that each moment, each second, each minute, all our days are precious.
Therefore, said once more to every one of us, whatever you do, give it your all. Use the moment. Be with yourself, because each moment is your precious life. It belongs to the fulfillment of your life, to your creativity. You create it from your true self. And so, your life's gain lies in the moment, in the seconds, in the minutes, in the hours, in the days, months, and years. Our life's gain means live the moment. Dear viewers, dear listeners, this practical help for life, which we were privileged to present today, was given to us by Gabriele, the prophetess and messenger of God for our time. This concept, this help for life, is also available in a book with the same title as the program, which we would like to recommend to you today. And with the prospect of life's gain for all of us, with this positive outlook for the life of every individual, we take our leave of you for today. Until next time, goodbye and greetings in God.
family cookbook